Hello and welcome to the Flory Models Friday Roundup Show. Here we are with you on the 9th of December 2022. A really busy week this week. Pushing on obviously a lot with the Phantom. We'll talk about that in a moment. Decaling, let's face it, there's no quick way around that one. So we've been doing a lot of that. Been working on a few projects which will be appearing at the beginning of next year. Sorting out some of the promotional stuff, various things with PM models and stuff like that. So a very busy week, as you can probably hear on my phone. Anyway, all started on Monday. Part 6 of the Zakamori Phantom is up with you right now. So members, you can go off and see with this one. So again, in true fashion of like, you know, when a kit's going wrong, it just keeps kicking you. It turns out that the strengthening plates I made such a big thing about aren't actually on the version of the Phantom that I'm working on. So we had to remove those, sand those off, and then basically come back in and rescribe and put in the riveting detail all back in there as if they were never there. So we showed how to go about doing that one, and to be honest, it turned out all right. So by the time we got them sanded back and then rescribed, re-riveted, we were good to go with that one. And then it was a case of masking up. So before that, we needed to get the white paint onto this one. So we shot basically masked up the rear part of the fan blade. So we pushed a little bit of foam right down there to protect those silver ones, because obviously we've already pre-painted half of the intake system. It's just this outer part here. So what we needed to do is get in there white paint and spray those. So we sprayed those up. We also did the gear doors internals, and then obviously the wheel wells, we were all sprayed up and ready to go. So that's those all nicely done. Then it was a case of mask up the actual white areas down in here once those are dried. So we got some foam in the beginning of those, and we went over this one with black. So in our case, we used Tamiya X1. Still a firm favourite of all the different lacquer paints I use. Tamiya X1 is just so good at coverage. So we popped that down. So we did obviously front end around the actual canopy set and everything. Tops of the wings, because obviously they're going to be black down in there just like that. So with that on and dried, then we masked those over. So we did a rough masking job just at the front, because obviously the decal's going to go over that. And then we masked up the tops of the wings to go through the painting phase. So then we could just get in there with light ghost grey for the underside colour. So we basically just put a good coat of that down right the way over and let that one dry. Same times, obviously, we did the tail planes and the various bits and pieces on there as well. So they're all dry and ready to go. So that really completes off that one of part 6. So really, it's all doing about the gloss work, and then obviously coming down in there with the normal painting work and masking up right the way through. So anyway, you can see that one now, members. If you want to pop off, that video is up with you right now. Tuesday was a full-on show, to say the least. We were basically talking all things, obviously, about working on the Phantom. I was talking about decaling, talking about the patience of decaling, talking about setting solutions, and all things like that. So we covered all of that. And then for the second half of the show, basically, I had a conversation with the membership about reviews, what you wanted to see in the reviews and things like that, and how you feel the reviews are. Obviously, there's a lot done on YouTube now. They do them a lot differently to me, and trying to get your feedback. And this is something I will be doing with the membership on my Tuesday shows running up to Christmas. So I'll pick an area of what we do here. So the review section is a huge part. We've done over 3,500 reviews now over the last 20 years. So yeah, the back catalogue just goes on forever these days. So, you know, you can go back and see any of those ones. They're all on the site. But the big part about it is that how do you feel the reviews are? Is it enough mix of what I do, as obviously showing you right the way through the instructions, picking out anything that I see, looking at the plastic and stuff like that. The biggest feedback I've had from you guys, which has been totally amazing. The amount of time and effort you guys have put in to give me feedback is unbelievable, blown me away completely. Is that you seem to love it, no problem with the format as it is at the moment. A couple of tiny little tweaks, which I probably will incorporate for next year. You like the new way of doing the photo system as well, so you get nice close-up photos. And again, some of you have mentioned to me that you'd like a few more of those photos, perhaps some of the close-ups of specific areas, like the ones we often talk about, which is a perfect point, and I get totally. It's things like the cockpit areas, wheel well detail, any detailed area onto it to see it, even if it's just on the sprue, so people can get an opinion about, are they going to need to go down aftermarket route? Is it going to be good enough down there? I think that's probably the best feedback I've had about it, and I will definitely include that. So from now on, any reviews I do will be detailed close-up shots of obviously the cockpits, things like that. I also spoke about putting them together. Again, it was nice to see that you're on my page. It's not something I want to do, because I don't want to build every single kit, because 2 reasons. 1, time You know, as you say, even if you were taping a kit together, you're still going to be spending a couple of hours to get it all together neatly and done, even if you don't glue it together. But secondly, is obviously the cost of doing it, because you've got a dead kit then, because it hasn't been painted and stuff like that, and you can't sell it as new or nearly new because it's in a million bits. So from that point of view, I totally get it. I will pick out ones. This was a classic example of a new kit that we've decided to put together, and we found faults with it. So I can do a follow-up to the review saying, now having built it, and here it is, this is what we found wrong with it, and you know, problems you're going to come across of this, this, and this. And then also the great thing is, because I've built it, how to fix those said problems, you know, how to go about, you know, fixing them quickly and easily, and hopefully getting on with your build, no problems for that. And again, bit of a mixed batch about doing some of the classic kits. This year we've done a lot of the classics. You know, some of you really don't want to see them, other you absolutely love them. So there will be a few, and I will chuck them in amongst them, because to be honest, I've got quite a large stash, and some of them are pretty old. So yeah, we will be digging out some of the old classic kits as well as obviously the modern ones, things like that as well. So expect to see bigger, more things coming next year from the review section as it makes its way through, as well as doing the full builds and stuff like that. This week, just as a bit of a spoiler, don't start messaging me now, it'll get lost. But obviously on the Tuesday show, I'm going to be talking about the video builds, how you like them, the camera angles that we use, you know, everything from audio to lighting to the setup and everything else like that. So we're going to be talking about that on the Tuesday show this week as well, which I'll do a bit of a special, because obviously I'm on with Matt on Tuesday as well. So anyway, that will be up there. But thank you so much for all the feedback. Again, members, if you want to go off and see it, you can see me waffling on for quite a long time, half an hour, about reviews and how I feel about them and how I think we stack up in the, what do you call it? Yeah, YouTube land and things like that. I can't remember what they call them now. So yes, doing that type of thing. So yeah, anyway, go off, you can see that one out. Any feedback, the section is still open, and I will comment about it before next week's show, and I'll put a final statement up onto that one as well. But it's great to get your feedback, and again, thank you so much. Some of you have written major documents to go through, and I have read each and every one. That little tick means I've seen it, the little thumbs up. So yeah, anyway, it gives you a great little bit of feedback from my point of view, because I can understand what you guys want to see from the reviews. And it turns out we're doing pretty well as we're doing at the moment. But again, a couple of little tiny tweaks for next year. So looking forward to doing that one. Then over on the Wednesday show, we had the PM show. So it was me, Andy and Matt talking all things from PM models. We were talking about obviously all the latest releases, like the MI817s that seem to be everywhere that are coming down the line. So literally like buses, you don't see anything forever, and then all of a sudden there's loads of different versions. So we're being sport with helicopters, I think, this year. We were discussing in the chat that, you know, next year they've got so many helicopter releases coming out. We've got all the Apaches, we've got those MI17s, we've got some of the Russian gunships coming down the line as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. And I do love helicopters. They're my first love, as a lot of you know. So really looking forward to doing some of those for builds next year. Anyway, it's a free to watch. Anyone can see that one. If you want to go off and spend an hour listening to us rabble on about the state of the hobby and what's coming out and the usual pre-orders and things and discounts and stuff like that, then please go and check out the PM show. That's your weekly roundup of what's going on there. Last night, it was obviously me and the guys on Full House discussing Royal Mail's postal strikes with our very own Royal Mail striker, who's on strike today, John. So yes, talking about that, obviously usual thing, we were talking about kits, releases, what we've been up to, what we're working on, and then obviously answering all your questions as well. Some great questions we had this week, so very good, which I will just mention about that. I will say, I think something got slightly taken out of context. Some members in the forum have got hold of this and are running with it in the wrong direction, shall we say. The Best of British mini SIG stroke buddy build that we're doing for the Queen, a little bit for her reign. You can build anything you like as long as it was in British service. So we were talking about Tornadoes, we were talking about Jaguars, we were talking about Pumas, technically we were talking about Gazelles, things like that from an aircraft point of view. I'm sure there's armour options out there as well, which were joint ventures with other people. Typhoons, for instance, bringing it up to date and stuff like that. As long as it's in British service, as Nathan has pointed out right the way through this, then you can do it. So that's no problem. That's why we said yes to the Tornado, no problem at all. We were talking about the American with the car because it's built in Canada and shipped around the world. So technically it's not all American. But this one is purely because it's going to be sort of the best of British, or from the Queen's reign, from when she took up state office right the way through to her death. counts. But it just has to be in British markings, clearly. So a tornado is about as British as you can get. So, you know, that's in British markings, even though it's only 50% British or whatever it is, you know? So from that point of view, that's what we were getting at. So you can do anything as long as it is in British markings. That's it. Simple as. I don't know why people have got confused with it, because I don't remember saying anything about nobody could do a Typhoon or, you know, a Jaguar or anything else like that. As long as it's in British service, it counts. Simple. It's really simple. I don't understand how people can get this wrong and complicated. It's fine. Just do that. You'll be great. Other one, Concorde came up. So I've had a message saying, so I can't do Concorde. Yes, you can do Concorde. Obviously, it's French as well, but as long as it's in British Airways markings, you can do a Concorde. No problem whatsoever. It's as British. It's what we were trying to do. So the whole point of doing is celebrating the Queen's reign and everything that was in it. So go ahead, do it. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's British, in British markings, you know, part British, it's absolutely fine. Or even if it wasn't British, as long as it's in British markings, it counts. You'll be absolutely fine. If you just want to do purely British, there's tons of stuff in there, knock yourself out. But it is quite easy. But for some reason, the forum has always taken it the wrong way. So there you go. You're sorted now. Good to go. Anyway, loads of stuff like that. If you want to see that one, members, you can talk about it all. It's all down in there. That brings us somewhat up to date to part 7 of the Phantom. So again, we were pushing on very nicely for this one. So again, dark ghost grey on top. So we were talking about spraying that down, masking it up. We just use a little bit of tackworm technique in the areas. And then obviously we put that down on top. Then the metallizer on the rear end. So we used a little bit of extreme metals for this because I just love the stuff. It just works. So that went down. And then we used a little bit of stainless steel in there as well, just to sort of break up the color, put a little bit of heat into it because stainless steel's got that bit of blue to it. So a little bit of post shading with that as well. All right. So that was that done. Then obviously we post because we were using the solid piece canopy as a temporary one. So then we've gone around and we've actually painted up all the proper canopy parts. So they were done in black, obviously both sides. And then we unmasked the lot to see what we had going on. You can see the cockpit down in there with the black and the various things on it. Then it was the decals. All 350 odd of them. Is it 350? I can't remember what it is now. I know it's a lot. Something like that. So all of these going on, and I must admit I have heard quite a few horror stories. Some of you got in contact saying careful, they are very thin and very breakable. I didn't really have a problem. We went through, there's a couple of tips and tricks which are in the videos which you can go off and see about it. So we got the framework put into that one, and then we went on about doing the decals for it and going right the way through, getting those all rubbed down and in. And to be honest, you guys are right, they are very thin, so you want to be very, very careful. Make sure you've got plenty of water underneath them for positioning so they don't crack, split. Also use warm water as well, and like you'll know, I use distilled vinegar in the water to really soften it up, so the enzymes actually attack the decal and soften it, so you're less likely to get cracking and splitting right the way over. Getting those big ones down the back end as well, so we were talking about placing giant decals, because that is one giant decal, although it's in separate sections. So it's a bit complicated to get it down, and then getting the water out, and then obviously putting down the setting solution. So I was using Micro Sol on this one, and to be honest, it worked perfectly with it. They went down no problem at all. So there we go. That gets you pretty much bang up to date with it just down in there. And then hopefully, there we go. You can see they are all on. Every decal. I'm absolutely confident that every single decal is on here because I've got none left over. So as you can see, it's on. It's just had a gloss coat this morning, so it's just literally ready to have a satin coat later on this afternoon. But yeah, decals are on, lots and lots of them. But like I always say, that it makes a Phantom. A Phantom without stencil data just wouldn't be a Phantom. Treat them like you do the camo almost. So yeah, there she is. She is all in. And I must admit, okay, I was a bit critical, shall we say, about the kit for the money and the fit issues we had, but. And now we're into this. This is absolutely stunning. It's very rare I do full sort of colour for ones like this. But we are going to weather it. It's going to have a wash and it's going to have some post shading into it as well. And it's turned out absolutely fantastic. So very, very happy with it. Looking very, very nice indeed. So yeah, good job on this one. So anyway, we're going to be pushing on with that one. Decaling is finally over, which is a godsend. I reckon there's probably around about 10 to 12 hours worth of decaling onto this one to do it, because we did it in sections right the way through. But it has turned out really, really nice. I'm actually looking forward to getting it onto its gear. And then obviously we can get the fuel tanks onto it, the bits and pieces like that. We get the nozzles all done and weathered, get those fitted into it. And then it's really going to be taking shape. So we're going to do a little bit of weathering onto it as well, because they're not clean. So we do a little bit of post weathering with it. So it should turn out very, very nice. But yeah, hopefully by next week, I'm sure it'll all be finished off and we'll be getting ready for Christmas. Anyway, that is about it. But first of all, we do have to pop over to the PM. Obviously, they've got their ongoing things. So we had new arrivals in. It's all a little bit slowing down, I think, to the run to Christmas, but we've got a few bits in here, as you can see. So we've got the new Tamiya Comet as kit as well. That one is in. The Gecko landing assault ship is in. We've got some of these back in as well. So it's the Tilly. So we've got those ones, different versions down in there as well for the cargo version. We've got the Alpine Renault. Very nice as well. So we got that one in as well, something a little bit special. And finally, we got the Kinetic F-16s are all in as well. So we got some nice stuff in. The Tamiya F-35s have arrived this morning. So members, you got those on pre-orders. You're going to get invoiced any second as well. So we got those in as well. So we got that section in the store. So we've got new arrivals down in there. Also, don't forget, we got our new book section. We got these great books down in here. Speaking of the Lightning, there it is. So we've got the one on the Lightning as well. So if you're planning on doing a build, seriously, have a look at these. Matt's sending me some of these down next week. So hopefully I'll do a little bit of a review on these ones so we can see what these books are like. But they are very, very good. And they don't break the bank either. It's only 20 quid. And they are quite thick, decent books. Yeah, good quality books. So, yeah, looking forward to doing those ones. They look very nice indeed. And also, we've got the one on the Gripen. We've got the one on the F-16s. We've got the international and the US ones. And obviously, that one we spoke about on the Wild Weasel. So they're in our little book section if you want to go off and get that one now. And then, obviously, we've got the specials. We've got the special section down in here this week. A few little ones added. I say we've managed to get hold of some of these. Now, these aren't going to be around for long. But this is the original 32nd Revell one, and it's a GR1 version, markings and all the rest of it. So again, we haven't seen that kit for a while, so something very nice about that one, and some very nice stuff down in here as always. So if you want to have a look around in our special section, that's down in there like that. And then last of all, we've got a 25% section as well. And members, don't forget, there's a special thing about that as well, which you know about, which everyone else doesn't. So anyway, 25% off all kits down in here. They're all brand new sealed. It's just we're having to move around of stock. So if you want to grab any of those ones, we've got some great stuff, and more stocks are being added daily to that one as well. So yes, you can get all about those and you'll be good to go. And that is about it from me. As always on a Friday, I'm going to leave you with your great work from the gallery. So until Monday, everybody, happy modelling. Take care.
Wasted. My heart grows heavy. Don't taste me rushing and keep your words naked. You got me blushing, and you forever I'll follow. You'll be my holy ground. You forever I'll follow. For the answer.